I love the Bible. I can't believe how it all fits together. Okay, so remember, you got John 1, and I'm just going to read it, okay? It says, John 1:14, and the Word became flesh, that's Christmas, and dwelt among us. This language is really important. And we have seen his glory, bookmark that, glory as of the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth, okay? So here's what's awesome here, okay? So you go back to the garden, and what do they lose? What they lose in the garden is access to the face of the Father. You know, in the garden, they walk with him as in the cool of the day, side by side as a friend. We lose the face of the Father because sin separates, okay? So then you fast forward to Moses. This is going to be really important. It's all going to tie together, okay? So then you fast forward to Moses. Moses, the Bible says, is the only guy who talked face to face with God, quote, as with a friend. But we know that language is mitigated because Moses actually has this moment where he's like with God. And he just like, almost just like blurts out. Like it's the cry of every Christian's heart. He just almost like blurts out like, show me your glory, right? And you guys remember what God says to him. He's like, man, there's a lot of things I can do for you, Mo. There's one thing I can't do. I can't show you my face. And he says, because no man shall see my face and live. And it's one of my favorite passages of the whole Old Testament. If you remember what he does, that's when God takes Moses and he sticks him literally in his hand, puts him in the cleft of a rock, covers him with his hand. And then the Bible literally says that God, and I'm not trying to be jokey or weird or gross. It's like literally what the Bible says. The Hebrew literally says that God turns his back to Moses and causes his, quote, hind parts to pass in front of Moses. And then instead of showing him his face, he declares verbally his glory. And he says, it's the most quoted verse in the Bible by the Bible. Mm-hmm. He says, the Lord, the compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger, abounding in love of faithfulness. Yet he does not forgive wickedness, rebellion, and sin. He punishes the children and their children for the sins of fathers, the third and fourth generation. Okay, so he declares, okay. So now, bookmark that. Moses, who the Bible says it prophesies forward about Jesus. It says when Moses dies, it's prophesied someday there will come again a prophet like me, Moses says, who speaks with God face to face as a man with a friend. But remember, Moses was not allowed two things in his life. He was not allowed to see God's face, and because of Moses' disobedience, he struck the rock instead of speaking to it. Moses was never allowed to enter into the promised land. All right, now, I love this so much. So then you fast forward to John chapter 1, and the Bible literally says right here, it says, man, and then the Word became flesh. And then it says, we have seen his glory as of the only Son from the Father. So Jesus is the glory of God. In fact, if you go back to the 10 Commandments, okay, the second commandment is don't make any graven images. Don't make any images of me. The reason that God commanded don't make any images of me is he was saying don't make any images because someday I'm going to send one. So then Jesus comes in John chapter 1. He himself is the, quote, image of the invisible God, the exact representation of his nature. When people are looking at the face of Jesus, they are looking at the face of God. Okay, bro, this is where it gets freaking amazing.
I'm excited.
So then you fast forward to the transfiguration. All right, so Jesus goes up on the mountain. He brings 3 dudes with him, Peter, James, and John. What they record is they see Jesus' face, quote, transformed like lightning. And they see the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. And then 2 dudes appear on the top of the mountain. By the way, the mountain was Mount Hermon, most people think, which is inside the promised land.
Bro.
The 2 dudes who see the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ are Moses and Elijah.
Yeah.
And so thousands of years later, after Moses was denied 2 things. Moses, I'm real sorry. You can't see my face and you can't go into the promised land. And then in Jesus, Moses is on that mountain and he's 2 things. He's seeing the face of God in the glory of Jesus Christ. And guess where he is? He's in the promised land.
Well,
oh man,
It's amazing, bro. The Bible is amazing.
And when people say, "Oh, the Bible never says Jesus was God," I'm like, "Hey, false. It explicitly
It's really hard for me not to interject and be like, "You're an idiot.
You're an idiot.
I award you no points. We are all dumber for having."
I literally was actually thinking that language, so I'm glad you said it because it gives me permission to say it in a few minutes. Yeah. But in addition to that, again, I'm going to cheat, take us out of John, but like the book of Mark. In the book of Mark, there's this interesting story where Jesus sends the disciples ahead of him on the water, and then later he's catching up with them. But then it says he meant to pass them by. And it's kind of weird if you think about it, because like there's other times where this happened, and Jesus is actually meeting them in the boat, calls Peter out to him on the water, but it literally says he meant to pass them by. That's kind of weird until you realize that the Greek word "pass them by" is the exact same word used in the Greek Old Testament when God passed by and showed Moses his glory.
What? I've never heard that before.
So, like, when you see that, you're
wait, I'm curious, and this is, I may lose some of our listeners. I'm nerding out here for a second. So, theology nerd thing. So, in the Septuagint, they're the same words. So, for our listeners, here's why I'm asking Paul that question. This is very interesting to me. The Septuagint is, how would you explain? The Septuagint was written...
The Greek translation of the Old Testament.
Okay. Yeah. So the reason I'm asking that, so the Septuagint is the New Testament was written in Greek. The Old Testament was written primarily in Hebrew, some Aramaic also, but primarily in Hebrew. The reason I'm asking Paul that is it is very significant and seemingly an intentional tie between the two. If the Septuagint translates "pass by" in the same way as the New Testament.
Yes.
And it does.
Exactly.
Interesting.
It's like it's kind of like saying, hey, this is more than just a man we're dealing with here, because also like he's walking on water in the and then he calms the storm in other places. In the Old Testament, only Yahweh walks on the water, and only He is the one who calms the storms. Wow. And so again, there are places where actually it does explicitly confirm Jesus' divinity, but there's so many places like the ones we've been talking about that it's like, it is anything but just a strong like wink, wink, wink moment.
Wink, wink,
it's
nudge,
like,
nudge.
Hey, even if they don't say it outright in these moments, it's like wink, wink, wink. They know what they're doing.